Welcome to our very first episode of Conversations That Connect, our new interview series from Cannabis Nurses Network celebrating the stories, wisdom, and lived experiences of nurses who are helping to shape the future of compassionate healthcare. This series was created to elevate the voices of nurses who have participated and contributed to the CNN Speakers Training Academy. Love shared her signature message during our Power of Connection speaker series this summer. And today we have the joy of getting to know her a little more deeply. Dr. Love is a retired United States Air Force veteran, a doctorate level nurse with more than 20 years of experience, and a board certified women's health nurse practitioner, certified nurse midwife, and nurse coach. Her work brings together education, research, advocacy, public health, spirituality, and a deeply compassionate belief that people deserve to be heard before they are advised. Love reminds us that science can illuminate the path, but compassion is what allows people to feel safe enough to begin walking through it. Dr. Love, welcome to the Conversations That Connect. We are so grateful to share this space with you today.
Thank you, Heather. And I have to put this out there because I'm not sure how often it's expressed to you, the gratitude that we have for you and thanking you for being you, being here and having the network in this place, this space for us, because it has done wonders for me. So thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Love. We're so happy that we get to highlight you and your work today. And before we talk about your credentials or professional accomplishments, we want to know who is Love and what would you most want people to understand about the woman behind all these titles?
Right now, I am in my 55th year of life. And so you can imagine all of the trials, life experiences. There have been many, many good things. There have been many, many what I would call challenging and painful things that have happened. And so all of these things have contributed to who I am. And so as life goes along, it's trial and error. You're trying to figure your way out. And over time, I started to follow the bread trail, so to speak. And yeah, I was just out there flailing, just trying everything that I could try, whatever, see what sticks or whatnot. But then after a while, I started settling in. There's that thing called intuition that arises, right? And so like when you pay attention to it, because sometimes, we just dismiss it, oh, that's just a thought or what have you. But when something is impressed upon you, and it's noticeable. And so following those breadcrumbs that I would get and say, it's overwhelming feeling to go this way, overwhelming feeling to do that. And how that one simple act changes the trajectory of everything. Like everything that we do affects the course trajectory. One simple decision, just going to the grocery store because you run into someone who changes your life, and you just went to the grocery store. Oh, I'm just going to the grocery store. So all those things like make such a huge difference. I think the first one that I really, really noticed, I was at a doctor's appointment. I was sitting in the waiting area like most of us do. We pick up a magazine and I start reading. And on one of the pages it had, do you deserve a doula or something to that effect was the title. And I'm like, doula, what's a doula? I had never heard of the word before. I started reading it and everything in me like lit up. There was no, oh, is that intuition? It just took over. It was just so full. I'm like, oh my God, this is my way to be with women, because I was already doing it, right? But it didn't have a title. And so I went home, found out what I needed to do to become a certified doula, and I began that process. And I was seeing clients while I was in my undergrad. So I'm going to school, studying, and doing that. And fortunately, all the labors occurred when I wasn't at school. So that was good. So when I was doing that, here's more of the bread trail. When I was with a client in labor and delivery at a hospital, and this woman walks in and she says, "My name is such and such, and I'm going to be your midwife, for the day, or for the labor." Like, a midwife? What? A certified midwife, like in the hospital, because only ones I knew of are the lay midwives at that point. I'm like, okay, that's the thing. I went home, found out exactly what I needed to do to become one of those, and started that journey, and it just kept going from there. And so whenever I have those little moments, where things pop up, sometimes the intuition is a little bit more subtle for me. And sometimes it's huge to where there's no ignoring it. It's like somebody just bopped you upside the head. Like, you can't ignore that.
And you provide a certain type of care. So you've done so many different things, Love. You've served as an Air Force veteran, a nurse practitioner, a nurse midwife, a nurse coach, an educator, researcher, an advocate. And as you look across that remarkable journey, what experiences most profoundly shaped the kind of healer and human being you have become?
Well, yeah, I think because of the basis, the foundation was caring. I always cared for people. It didn't matter who they were, and complete strangers. If I see somebody struggling with something from a very young age, I'm running over to help them do something or whatever, and I just go on about my business or whatever. But it was just this innate thing. And when I didn't see other people doing these things, and I would complain to my mom, she said, "Baby, everybody don't think like you." And that was a light bulb moment for me, because I thought everybody's brain works the same way. We think the same way. But that helped me to understand that my thinking is mine. Everybody doesn't think the same way, and so that was a pill to swallow, but it helped me to just breathe and let go. And I'm like, okay, like, you just worry, about you, and serve the way that you can serve.
You talk about your mom and your childhood, and at a very young age, you were cluing into these things. You have shared before that as a child, you couldn't understand how something growing freely in nature could be illegal. And yet, your military service meant that you remained cannabis naive for many years. What
Mhm.
eventually reopened that childhood question and led you into cannabis nursing?
The fact that I retired, because I always had it on my peer view to engage with cannabis. Um, and it was very frustrating, because I'm always researching things that are healthy, things that are good for you. And I had come across hemp protein. But just shortly thereafter, there was this announcement placed on the military that we couldn't engage with any products that had hemp in it. We couldn't put the lotions, we couldn't do the protein. And that blew my mind. I'm like, it's a freaking plant. And it's still, right? And so, of course, once I got out, I was like, I'm free, like getting out of jail, so to speak. Like, I'm free. I can do what I want to do now. So yeah, the plants are medicine. And so just being able to do that freely, and figure out what works for your body the best, to have you live in the most optimal way that we can live. So I hope I answered your question.
No, that was beautiful. And talking about the hemp proteins, and understanding plants and plants as medicine, but you probably didn't have the knowledge of the body system yet. So when you first
Right.
learned about the endocannabinoid system, after already spending many years as a
Mhm,
nurse,
mhm.
what did that discovery awaken within you personally and professionally?
So at first, there was, certainly a level of frustration and anger because of something that so beneficial had been demonized. And then the thrill of like, oh my goodness, like this serves the entire body and helping us become way more into balance and way more ourselves, because when we're experiencing all of those pains and discomforts, we're not ourselves. You can be short and just don't want to be with anybody, or whatever the case may be. You don't really want to engage with a lot of people when you don't feel good. At least I don't anyway. And so even for just that one reason alone, that's the only purpose it served, was just to make me feel good, that would be enough. But the benefits are just so limitless, when we engage with that special plant called cannabis.
Yeah, not everybody is brave enough to actually do that, or they have questions and they're afraid to ask. And so in your connected presentation, you actually told a story of a woman who lowered her voice before asking you about cannabis because she was afraid of being judged. What did that encounter teach you about what people truly need from healthcare professionals?
Clear information, clear understanding, and that the medical profession of all things should be, for me, the one that's giving this information out, getting out fast to the masses to let them know, like, this can help. Yes, it takes time, because you have to navigate what is best for you and your body. There's no cookie cutter prescription for it. So it has to be developed on that trial and error, and not everyone has that level of patience to work that out. They want the quick pill or what have you, but I still like the fact that they have the information. Now, you have that right for autonomy to keep popping the pills or doing the work of finding what works best for you when it comes to the plant.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Because we know, once we understand about the endocannabinoid system, right, we realize that not all endocannabinoid systems are operating at the same level. And so when you're talking about individualized patient care and having people be listened to, how do you engage people in assisting them to be intuitive about their own endocannabinoid systems? Have you found a way that you're able to do that?
Well, I will start off the conversation. Tell me about yourself. Tell me what's important to you, and I'll just let them just go. And when it seems like they might be finished, and I say, what else? And then there's more. What else? And so I'll say that enough times to where I feel like I really have a good grasp of where they are and how we need to begin.
Yeah. And this is something that you spoke about during your signature talk. And you said that healing begins when people feel heard.
Yeah.
And that you listen before advising.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those of us who maybe aren't that great of listeners, what does deep listening look like in practice, especially within the healthcare system that is so often rushed or driven by tasks?
Mm-hmm. So, yes, being in the system per se, like if you're at a hospital or a clinic or something, it's not really optimal for that, because they're on such a limited time schedule, right? So they may ask you one question, and all you have a time for is to answer one question before they've already, maybe written the script and, like, here you go. So, but if someone has like maybe a holistic clinic where they might allow an hour for the appointment, then they have that time to take that time and get all of that information and see where that client, I like to call them client versus patients,
Well, they're
some,
actually called healthcare consumers now, love.
right, but that too. All of that. I just want them to start. That gives me a starting place to say, what do you want to address first? Right? And we start at that one little place and then it just balloons from there. We just need to get started. And where do you want to start first? What's most important for you to work on first? Because so many people have way more than one ailment. Right. So we're not just throwing darts at all of them.
Yeah, when I went to school, I remember that they talked to us about the psychosocial, spiritual aspects of our assessment of patients. And I remember I loved doing that part. And so I would spend a lot of time on that aspect. And then I would write up my little reports and send it. And sometimes my instructors would say, you maybe should have spent more time on the physical part and maybe less on the psychosocial, spiritual. And so finding that balance for me was a little bit difficult at the beginning, where I was leaning more heavily on the spiritual side. But, your work brings together that these things. So science and spirituality, evidence and intuition, clinical care and sacred ritual. How did you come to understand that these belong together? And how do you hold that balance responsibly in your practice?
Because it's so much more. There is so much. And so you have to get to who that person is, what are their priorities, and realizing their state of mind, their emotional health, that's going to drive the physical health. And so for them to take that time and really express what's most important to them and starting there and helping them to realize how much their state of mind affects their health. That's the piece. That is the caveat, is helping them to understand that. And once they do, again, just changing their mindset and really dialing in on who they are. So many things we experience in life has to do with all this external noise. But there's this internal place that's all yours, that you can go for to gain and realize who you are, your power, your worth. And there are times absolutely where the best of us have to be reminded of that ourselves when we already know it, when we're going through the thick of certain things or whatnot. And all of that absolutely affects every cell in our bodies. If we're unhappy, now we run the gamut of all of our emotions. That's normal. But if we let that one thought, that one negative thought linger and stay there, the body is listening. All the cells in your body are listening, like, okay, well, she's meditating on this bad thing. So that must be what the body wants, what we want collectively. And then you start feeling worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you're wondering, why in the world am I feeling this way? Because we're perpetuating those thoughts. And so if we can jiggle things up a bit, like getting on maybe a vibration table or something like that, shake things up, move those things out of the body and come more into balance and start focusing on the things that bring us joy versus these things that are tearing us down.
I love that. That was great. a lot of times in healthcare, we look at the physical first. We might talk about the mental. We sometimes might get around to the emotional. Maybe we'll talk about the spiritual. But I think what I heard you saying is if you really focus on the
first.
spirit knows what's
Yes.
going on in there. And the spirit, if it's well and cared for,
Yes.
can impact and influence that emotional state. And emotional states impact and influence the mental state. And you just clearly said the mind, what we're thinking about, we bring about within our body physically. And so maybe they taught us, maybe they needed to turn their paper around. Maybe they were teaching us the ways a little bit backwards. And
I agree, definitely. So yeah, it's very disheartening when I look at the healthcare system because, again, now the caveat, the wording is the sick care system. And I see a lot more people wanting to do better. They know better, but they put their finances first and foremost because, we got to live. So they go to work, this is the way they train or whatnot. But letting that go and engaging, for me, it's a whole lot of ethics. I'm like, I can't support a system that like is steering you way away from health versus towards it. So yeah, being, I wasn't planning on getting out of the military when I did, but it gave me freedom to take care of the body more, much more effectively.
Yeah, it almost feels like in some cases it's just this conveyor belt, right? It's like, okay, patient come in, do the thing, start, go, do. And you had once in one of your presentations with us, you had asked clinicians to consider whether patients would remember them because they felt seen or because they felt unseen.
Right.
And can you share a time when being fully present with somebody changed the course of that person's experience or changed you?
Well, they always change me. I'll always learn from my clients, always, even in practice, and, because so many of them, I mean, they would wait for me. Like if I was on leave and they want this, the people want to schedule them with another provider. They're like, no, I'll wait till she comes back. Because they didn't want to be seen by, anyone else because of that, because of relationship, developing a real relationship with these people. And there's several of them that we're still friends to this day, the ones that got, way more personal. I wouldn't do that until after I was finished taking care of them, to go beyond that point. But those foundations had already been set, in place for just that trust to be there. And being consistent with that and keeping your word on what you say you were going to do. These kind of things help develop those relationships, just being present. That's the thing, some people will want to be your best friend just because you listen to them. You took the time to just listen. You were not listening, just waiting for them to pause so you can get a word in edgewise.
And I'm thinking of something. I'm just going to throw this out here. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But I'm thinking of a time when you were so in tune and present with a patient that they wanted to share their greatest gift with you. You want to talk about your daughter?
Right. So, and that's very much a part of that trail that you follow, like being a doula, all those years ago. I mean, I would have never thought that trail would have led me to my daughter because I had prayed because I was 43 at the time. And I said, God, I don't know why for all these years since I was 20, you gave me such a heart to have a daughter and not give it to me. Because I have 2 grown sons now. They're 32 and 35. At that time, like I said, I was 43. And I'm like, and nobody was on the scene for me to date and hadn't been on in a while. So even if I had met somebody at that point in time, it's going to take time to get to know someone, right? And so I'm not just going to have a baby with any old body. So I just came to terms with it. And I said, God, I'm done hoping. I don't know why you did it. I feel some kind of way about it, but I'm letting it go. And I'm going to live out the rest of my days. I'm going to do me and make myself as happy as I can make me. And I was just done with it. And then a month later, I had a patient that came in and she was putting the baby up for adoption. And then she asked me would I take her. So I got to deliver her. First one's to lay hands on her. And like she had such a head full of hair. And I'm like, oh my God, she's got so much hair. I was so nervous about delivering her. I was telling the physician on call that I didn't want to do the delivery because just thinking about it, I was weak in the knees. I felt all the butterflies and I'm like, I can't do this. She said, you're going to do this. I'm like, no, I'm going to drop her. I feel like I'm going to drop her. You're doing this. And I'm like, well, I need you to stand right next to me because I might faint. I don't know. I had my body up against the bottom of the bed, because I'm like, I don't want to drop the baby because at least the baby's like right there. Plus there's the little bag there for bodily fluids or what have you. But I did it. And yes, and I about lost my mind. I held her up and then I was like, oh shit, I didn't cut the cord. I said, see, I told you. I had to cut the cord and then showed her to the mama. And so that was it. And she was like, yes, she said, go be with your baby. Because the nurses were over there at the warmer doing their things or whatever. She said, go be with your baby. I'm like, yes, ma'am. And so we spent the next 2 days together, all of us in the same room at the hospital. And when we left the hospital, there wasn't a dry eye on the ward. And we walked all out together to the cars and she put her in my vehicle and locked her in, the seatbelt and all that stuff. And there wasn't a dry eye. And so that was huge. Those times like that where you never know what one simple act will develop, what will come after that. And just from me, and it stemmed back from so many years ago, just picking up that book, the magazine, Do You Deserve a Doula? I'm like, what's a doula? So just following my heart and what was pulling me forward still brought me to the daughter, but so many other things along the way as well. So yeah, thank you for taking me down memory lane with that one. And so that'll be in the book, in much more detail because so much has happened. That's the Cliff Notes version.
Such a beautiful story. And you said there wasn't a dry eye in the ward, and I'm feeling that right here in our Zoom room. Yeah. I'm teared up, and thank you for being vulnerable, sharing that beautiful part of you and your family. And
thank you for bringing it back, just feeling all the feels. It's always a thing that just feels good to go back to those moments, and they help remind me when I'm feeling off. It helps remind me, listen, follow your breadcrumbs, follow the trail. It's going to be okay. It does not mean that we won't go through challenges, because the challenges are what develop us and make us even better. And I think the challenges should probably make us more compassionate for others, because you can imagine if anyone is going through anything similar or just difficult, you know what that feels like. And so you want to assist in helping people to walk that path.
Yeah, it's that empathy as well, right? When you go through those challenges, it's kind of what I refer to as like a refiner's fire. and it
Yes.
can burn
Yes.
away some impurities and
Yes.
really bring you to that pure place. So when you encounter somebody who's going through something that you yourself have already been through,
Yeah.
you have that ability to say, I feel you, not sympathy, like I feel bad for you, but empathy, like I feel you. I know what you're going through, and I know how I can stand here and be with you through this. And I know that you do that for people, Love. I've seen you do it. You've done it for me, and I really appreciate just who you are. Um, you also remind nurses that they have the same duty to themselves that they have to their patients. What have you had to learn about caring for yourself, protecting your own well being, and creating rituals that help you return to who you are?
It's vital. It's so vital. And then that word no, and leave it there. You know, we don't have to follow that up with the reason. Can you yada yada yada? No.
No is a complete sentence sometimes.
Complete sentence. Absolutely. All the time. It's a complete sentence, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that today. I'm not going to be able to do that tomorrow, whenever it is. No, because especially if it's something I already have written down for that time for me, you know, I show up for others, but I have to show up for myself as well. And many of us don't do that, you know, because we will, you know, hop right to it. Somebody calls you, you know, they need you. I mean, because you want to be there. I mean, I want to be there too, but at the same time, I need to be there for me first and foremost, so that I'm giving from a full cup, you know, where whatever I experience with you, you're getting the overflow rather than me pushing through. So, of course, that looks like taking care of yourself, getting the rest that you need, or what have you. Um, it becomes more challenging, I think, nowadays because the pace of life is just wild. And so, finding that strength and courage to say no and take that time for yourself to reset and recenter, because you're so much more of a benefit to others when that happens.
Well, we're so grateful you said yes today. I know we started our discussion today, and you said I am life is lifing me, and I thought maybe I needed to reschedule for today. And I
Yeah.
asked you, do you want to reschedule? We don't
Yeah.
have to push anything. And
Yeah.
you said, no, I want to carry on. And so we are
Mhm.
appreciative that you said yes to us today.
Yeah. Thank you.
How you feeling, Love?
Yes, yes. Much better than I, you know, before I got on. There's
Good.
something about this kind of thing because I can absolutely be feeling crappy as all get out. But like the times like, but then I'll get on with my students and I go, it's go mode. It's like that's my zone. And then miraculously, you know, I feel better and then I can carry on with my day after the class. So I don't pick it back up where I go back to feeling crappy. It's like it just catapults me forward.
Beautiful. And your name, Love.
Hmm.
Ironically, you named your daughter after yourself as well, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, her name is Lovely and it's spelled Loveigh.
I love
So
that.
it's
That's
spelled
so
like
cool.
that.
But your name, Love, it feels remarkably aligned with the way that you teach and the way that you serve. What has love come to mean for you, and how does it guide the way you move through the world?
Mm. Love is compassion and engaging with compassion with people. Now we all know people that know that that cut up, so to speak. They just cut up. They act ugly. They might be mean or what have you. And if you match that energy, nothing's going to get better. And so I don't excuse and make it okay that they did what they did, but I come to center and just start speaking with the person, especially if it's somebody, that I'm engaging with, and just by sitting and asking them those questions kind of like disarms them, and just being present for that. And that helps a lot. That's the thing. And just having compassion for whatever it is they're going through, because I believe that we all are innately good. We came here pure. It's all these things that get piled on us once we're here. And when people are, as I say, cutting up and just acting ugly, I know that they're hurting on some level. And so I'm able to settle in and just be present with that person. And I can't tell you how many times, even in practice, where I've had other providers say, "Oh, you got that patient? Get ready." Da, 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 da. And then I go in and I hear what you're saying. I hear you, but I'm going to go off of what I experienced when I get in the room. And 100 out of 100 times, I didn't experience whatever they said I was going to experience with that particular patient. And so just being present for that and realizing that, having compassion for wherever they are, whatever has happened in their lives, because I know a ton of things have happened, negative things have happened in my life. And so I know how that feels. And so if they're feeling that way, anything near what I have felt, then I want to do what I can to help ease that and help just bring them closer and closer into balance. Maybe they can get to a place where they can finally start seeing some level maybe of self-worth, that they can take the reins for themselves to be well. So that's what that is. It's just like being that conduit to help remind people that they are enough and they don't have to hang on to all the hurt and pain. There's a way through it. So
And that's really
that helps.
an extraordinary way of nursing that not all people engage in, right?
Right.
So when you imagine the future of nursing and healthcare, what do you hope becomes possible? And what role do you believe nurses are uniquely prepared to play in creating those possibilities?
You know what? One thing would be, let's say, and I know every nurse couldn't do it. This is just in my wildest dreams. If every nurse walked away from the healthcare system and went into this one-on-one thing for themselves, or even a group of nurses getting together and just being with clients intentionally like this. I mean, I think it would absolutely change the world. And all of our experiences. I mean, it would be such a more delightful place to live in, for sure, because then like they would, again, like me, be doing the thing that brings them joy. Because, I don't know many people. I've heard of one nurse that I've experienced that does not like nursing, and they only did it for the money. Well, that's why you're not enjoying it, because you did it for the money. Just for the money. It's good to be paid for whatever it is that brings you some level of joy and satisfaction. So, because once I got on the scene after finishing nursing school, I'm like, hold up, something is not right here. Because we talked about all those preventative measures, the things that prevent you from getting sick. But I'm like, I'm not hearing any of that done. Can we go back there? Oh, well, that's the part that doesn't make money. Oh, okay. So it's about the money. Got it. Gotcha.
You brought up an interesting point. that, you know, nurses gathering together and providing this type of care or doing it one-on-one. We studied Margaret Newman a couple of years ago and her theory, health as expanding consciousness. And one of the things that she says is, you know, I have a dentist, I have an acupuncturist, I have a massage therapist, I have a hairdresser. I don't have a nurse. And so what I'm kind of hearing you say is that is a role for the future for us to have our doctor, our surgeon, our nurse. And as it is right now, nurses in the system, you go to see the doctor and you get to interact with a nurse, or you go to the hospital and you get to interact with a nurse, but you don't have a nurse that follows you, cares for you, keeps up with what's going on in those preventative measures.
Right. All the crevices and nooks and crannies, you know, because we're there, we're so much more present. And the ones who don't want to be nurses, I don't want them to be nurses. I want them to find the thing that works for them. I'm like, please leave. You need some help with that?
I don't want to be taking care of somebody that doesn't want to be taking care of me, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what are you becoming now, love? Is there a dream or a question or a body of work that's calling you into the next chapter of your journey?
So I'm definitely settling into that now. Just being there, being that conduit for people, holding up a mirror to let them know and see, you know, who they are and what they can be, what they can do, what they can accomplish. Just being with themselves, having that time with themselves, whether it be meditation, because there's so many forms of meditation. It doesn't have to look any particular way, whatever way works for you to help you settle in. And because there's that inner knowledge, because we came with every single thing we need to know. We don't have to go outside of ourselves for any answers. I mean, we do that, but we don't have to.
So before we close, what is one truth, one piece of wisdom, or an invitation that you would like to leave in the hearts of everyone listening today?
Know thyself. When you make your decisions, know why you made that decision versus just shooting from the hip. Like, are you making your decisions from what it is that you feel inside and that's true for you? Or are you making your decisions based on what's outside of you because it's raining, or conditioning, that piece? You know, we've been conditioned, all of us have been conditioned a certain way because we live here. And especially if you were raised in the United States. I mean, no matter where you are, you've been conditioned by your environment. And if I make a decision, then I need to evaluate, okay, am I making this decision from my conditioning or my wholeness? And so pausing long enough to do that, to even ask yourself that question, and then pausing long enough to receive your answer and following that. And that more than anything right there. Yes, ma'am.
Know yourself. Well, we have enough time for one, maybe two questions. If anybody in the audience would like to comment or you have a question for Love before we close out today.
Hi, Love.
Hi, Marilyn.
I love the story of your daughter. It touches me every time I see you. I think about it, and I'm just so grateful that you shared it with us today. You also mentioned a book. What are you up to? What's going in your book?
So yes, that I want to write the book about her, and very much about like some of the things I've shared here today on hope, your desires, and how just following, you've heard of the term following your bliss, whatever that is, and having that lead you to that special something.
I know it's going to be beautiful and wonderful. I don't think you realize how connected you are to your name and love itself, and how when you speak to others, and this is my experience with you, that comes out. There's something there that says, I'm listening, I love you, there's unconditional love here, and I care about whatever you're saying. And so thank you for being that person. Thank you for showing us all how to be that person.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So that book will entail all of that, like how all of that comes to be. So it'll be mixed in there, all these life experiences mixed in there with that story, the importance of you following that intuition, whatever is pulling you, versus it coming from your thinking mind. That thinking mind has a purpose, but it's not to lead us.
I have a question, Love. For myself, I'm an aspiring educator. What advice can you give to a new educator who's going to be working with nurses on how to teach new nurses to prioritize, listening first and putting that I love how you describe how you interact with patients, and I know that you pass that along to your students. So how do you do that? And can you help others do that as well?
Well, first, I have to put, what does it say? What's the saying? Put your money where your mouth is. I have to model that. And that's the first thing, is modeling that for your students. And then asking them, like, make it a requirement, that they do one thing this week that serves them, like only them, like it doesn't benefit. Now, people are going to benefit from you being, you feeling good, right? And healthy, but do that thing for you, for nobody else but you. Serve yourself first. People like to be on the bottom of the list of things to do, or they're not even on the list at all. But you put yourself first, fill your cup and give from the overflow. And so, yeah, just exhibiting that for them, showing them and making it a requirement that they do one thing for themselves each week, to get them started there. And it doesn't have to take a long time. Yes, you want it to grow, but ask them to take 5 minutes and do something for themselves. Take a bath and put all the smell good stuff, and just relax there. But make sure nobody is home. Nobody's going to interrupt you. If you have to, get a hotel room, nice fancy hotel. Don't tell anybody where you went, and just go and just live in the lap of luxury for the day. Things like that. And just share that, model that, and then make some kind of requirement. I'm not saying you have to do that particular requirement, but give them some kind of something to do each week for themselves. Challenge them to do that on that.
Love it. Thank you. That's such a good idea.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that as well, because it's giving people permission, right? I mean, when you make it a requirement, it's giving the caregiver the permission to take care of themselves first. Because like you said, you're not able to listen maybe as well if you have a lot of things going on in your mind. But if you're well taken care of, if you're relaxed because you just spent time in the tub, when you sit with that patient, maybe you have that opportunity to have a clearer mind. Like Marilyn pointed out, the quote that you said, our mind has a purpose, but it's not to lead us. And sometimes when we're sitting across from a patient or a person that we're caring for, and our mind is working, we're not present. It takes us away from that presence, and you must be present to be able to listen deeply. And so I love what you just shared with Gloria about how to invite students to take care of themselves first so that they can be sitting present and serving from their overflow.
And Heather, you may know this already as a nurse coach. It's important, like when you ask a question, to be quiet after asking that question. No matter how long the silence is there, you wait for whoever it is you're speaking to respond. Because everybody, lots of people, I won't say everybody, lots of people are uncomfortable with that silence. You know, that silence can be deafening, you know, in the room. It's like, oh, will somebody speak, please? No, like, ask the question. And if they need to just do this number, let them until they come back. I'm right here with you. I'll be right here waiting. I might not wait longer than an hour, but you know, I'm right here with you.
Sometimes people need time to process their thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. To know that. That's the thing. Like I said, when I ask somebody something like, well, what do you think are the reasons for you making that decision? And it's like you hit them upside the head with something, because it's just like, you don't even know where that's coming from, like how you made that decision. So take the time, and knowing that, it's important.
And nurse coaching is so cool because it's all about personal insights and eliciting those insights. And like you were saying, listening sometimes means just sitting in silence so that person can work through and bring, unpack what their thoughts are to bring them to that personal insight that they're able to articulate to you and share.
Heather, I will share with you one other thing, because I know our time is drawing to a close, is that question alone can change a person's life. To just really dial that in, giving them that space to, like, I've never been asked that before. And it's just, what can come after that is just extraordinary.
This has been such a gift, Love. Thank you for allowing us to know about the work that you do and the life experiences and the wisdom that have shaped the woman behind that work. You have reminded us that meaningful change doesn't always begin with having the perfect answer. Sometimes it begins when one person feels safe enough to ask an honest question and another person cares enough to listen. Your voice is an important part of the Cannabis Nurses Network and of the future we are creating together, a future rooted in compassion, guided by science, and made possible through connection. To everyone who joined us, thank you for being part of this first episode of Conversations That Connect. We hope that you leave feeling inspired, encouraged, and perhaps a little more willing to listen deeply to others and to yourself. Until our next conversation, stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, connection changes everything.